In July 2011, Oslo was struck by a very powerful car bomb that went off next to Prime Minister's office. 8 people were killed immediately, and hundreds were killed immediately. Panic-struck Norwegians were trying to figure out why they have been attacked and why they have been added to list by jihadists. They searched and discovered that many reasons they found that the Norway has been contributing troops to the NATO warfare. They found that the Muslim community of Norway had not been properly contributed to the society. They also found that just a week before, a Muslim preacher had been indicted for his incitement. While the country was still trying to make this fog of war, and there have been an simultaneous attack that happened next to a couple hours later to a summer camp, with more than 69 people shot dead, including personal friends of Prime Minister and some member of the royal family. And of course, names starting popping up. This was had to be a jihadist attack. Responsibility some Al Qaeda. The name starting popping up. But ironically, it was none of that. This entire terror attack was the handiwork of one man, whose name was Anders Burby. And he was a Norwegian and he hated Muslims. And he was actually protesting against the multiculturalist policies of Norwegian government. My second story is about this man. He goes by the name of Salim Durrani. He has many names. He operated in the valley for about 10 years. He used to move in and out. The fences and the boundaries were never a problem for him. He has a price on his head when he was operated in the valley. And he has been known to be personally responsible for the death of 2 to 3, 4 dozen young men. He is also a devout Muslim, prays 5 times a day. He has his AK-47 next to him like a true warrior. Each time he prays, wherever he sleeps, never sleeps in the same place twice, not for 2 nights in a row. Salim Durrani is Mike Smith from the Indian Army. This is picture of him when he was a major, serving in the valley. Between him, his father and his grandfather, 3 generations, they have been contributed to 8 uniform services officers into the Indian Armed Forces, and between them, they hold 6 gallantry award and 2 commendation cuts. The young lad that you see sitting on the left is Salim's son, who is now planning to join the Indian Military Academy and continue the family tradition for the fourth generation of service to this country. Now, when I told you these two stories, your mind instantly left to a conclusion that was wrong. You thought of Salim Durrani when I began as a terrorist Muslim AK-47 Valley, and your mind jumped to a conclusion of which was wrong. We do that very often. We take information that is coming to our brain and we stereotype it. And why do we do that? It is because we are petty people, we are bad people. Turns out we do it because we are just people. And our brains are still evolving over millions of years evolution. And it's incapable of dealing with all these inputs that come to our brain in every second. So our mind filters them out and into some sort of pattern and absorbs those patterns and jumps to a conclusion. Let me give you a few examples. For example, until I say this sentence, you are unaware of the feeling of your touch of your thighs on your seat, or the touch of your arm on your armrest, or the faint hum of the air conditioner in this auditorium. But the moment I say these sentences, those pieces of information were out there and your mind jumped to a conclusion. But until then, those sensations were coming into your brain and they were being filtered out. And that's the way our mind works. And it takes 2 to 3 pieces of data and quickly jumps to our conclusion. Let's show that to you with another simple example. Try and solve this math puzzle. Suppose there is a racket and a ball which together cost 110 rupees. The racket and a ball cost together 110 rupees. The racket cost 100 rupees more than the ball. Now, what is the price of the ball? Now, all of us who got it as 10 just witnessed the way in which our brain takes information and jumps to the wrong conclusion. The answer is 5. The price of the ball is 5. The price of the racket is 105. That is why the racket is 100 rupees more than the ball. But you heard 110, 100 and you jump to the wrong conclusion that the price of the ball will probably 10. Now, second feature of our way of our stereotypical thinking is that we usually think of the worst case scenario. That is why Salim Durrani is a terrorist and not amongst the thousands of Muslims officers and soldiers who serve in the Indian Armed Forces. And why do we do that? Why do we always gravitate to the worst case scenario? Now, the answer for that is also our human evolution of our brain. Now, suppose we went back to in history. There were two types, tribe 1 and tribe 2. Tribe 1 will consist of brave, fearless warriors. They would see a mammoth and they say, I would take on this mammoth by myself. They come to a chasm and they say, I would and jump out of chasm and flap my wings and get across. They see a bright red food and they say, bite into it and forget about the consequences. And the tribe 2 said, when they say, oh mammoth, I cannot take on this mammoth. My son need to go and take more people. They come to a chasm. They decided to walk all the way to the other way, and they saw this bright fruit. But say, you know what? I will stick to my boring banana. Whose descendant do you think we are? Tribe 1 or tribe 2? Of course, or tribe 2, because tribe 1 didn't have descendants. They died. So two elements will jump to judgment. Through judgments are usually worst case scenarios. And the third problem is with this wrong judgment, worst case scenarios, we also change physiologically. Our mind changes the way we behave biologically. Let me show that with another example. How many of you seen the movie Black? It was a sad movie. How many of you cried during the movie? Why did you cry? Amitabh Bachchan is making tons of millions of money. Rani Mukherjee is not blind. This is all happening in a screen. None of it is true. But we still cry because our reptilian brain didn't realize the difference between the fact and fiction and started physiologically feeling sad. Physiologically taking decision in the emotional state of mind. Now, for those of you who didn't see movie The Black or were too much not to cry during the movie, I want to visualize one more example. I want you to visualize. I want you to open your mouth. I am asking you to open your mouth and stick out your tongue. Now I got a lemon in my hand and squeezing on the tip of your tongue. And the juice is going down in your. Why are you salivating? There is no lemon in my hand. There is nothing in my hand. But again, your reptilian mind doesn't know that when you hear these words lemon, lime, going, you can't stop salivating. Because physiologically our body changes the way we perform, we behave, we take decisions based on wrong information. Now, salivating on an imaginary lemon may be harmless, but stereotypes can be very, very dangerous. People get lynched by mobs because they believe they have eaten the wrong type of meat. Communal riots break out based on the false WhatsApp messages, Photoshop images. Countries go to war because they believe that another country has got weapons of mass destruction. Countries leave alliances because they have been part of decades, because they think immigrants are coming and stealing their jobs, which is wrong information. We start looking at every stranger with suspicion, and we think that everything which is different from us has to be dangerous. No, मत देखो यार मेरी क्या
हिंदी बताइए
ना नो तो सब दे रहा है बाद में बात करूँगा is by definition against us. Another founding principle of our country is the core value of tolerance. And tolerance, like wisdom, is the ability to hold two contrary ideas within same and evaluate each one on the merit before coming to a conclusive judgment. Before this talk, I was researching on the way our mind works, and I found many books. As a matter of fact, I have told many lines from these books. But I was hard pressed to find a book that would tell me how do we deal with this problem. What is the framework that will help us recognize this threat of parochialism and divisiveness? You okay? Because if we start believing that anyone who is not with us is against us, then we start creating a society in a world where everything is connected to each other, which is extremely divisive. And finally, I found a book which I want to read out a passage for you. The Fundamental Duties of the Citizen of India, Article 51A. It shall be the duty of every citizen to promote harmony and spirit of brotherhood amongst all the people of India, transcending religion, linguistic, regional, or sectional diversity. Now, this book, as many of you may have guessed, is the Constitution of India. Is that book which is holier than every holy book. Is that book on which every soldier, every politician, every bureaucrat, every citizen of India swears his allegiance. We have been taught to stand up and in attention whenever the national flag is unfurled. We have been taught to stand up and being attention whenever the national anthem is played, and we teach that to our kids. I think it's also time for us to sit down and start studying the fundamentals which are being represented by that flag and by national anthem. Because as the saying goes, whenever you are struggling to look for a new idea, sometimes it's a good idea to read an old book. Jai Hind, bye.